The crisis in Lagos. The sun was just beginning to rise over the sprawling city of Lagos, casting a golden glow over the lagoon and the high-rise buildings. But beneath this serene exterior, the city was in turmoil. What began as whispers in local markets had spread like wildfire across social media and radio stations. Lagos was in crisis. Bola had lived in Lagos his entire life. He had grown up navigating its busy streets, shouting over the blaring horns and haggling with market vendors. But he had never seen the city like this. Over the past few weeks, tensions had been building. The cost of living had skyrocketed, traffic congestion was worse than ever, and recent clashes between government forces and protesters had made many afraid to step out of their homes. That morning, as Bola made his way through the crowded streets of Ajigona, he could feel the anxiety simmering in the air. Shops were closed, people spoke in hushed tones, and the usual lively atmosphere was muted by uncertainty. Rumor had it that protests were planned for later that day, a response to recent inflation and a proposed policy that threatened to hike the price of essential goods even further. Bola worked as a bus driver, one of thousands of Danfo drivers navigating the chaotic Lagos roads. He was used to the hustle, to the long hours and the endless traffic jams. But now, with fuel prices soaring, he was earning less than ever. His passengers, mostly working-class people struggling to make ends meet, often argued with him over the fare. He sympathized with them. After all, he was just as affected by the price hikes, but he couldn't afford to cut fares when his own family needed food and medicine. As he drove through the teeming streets, Bola noticed groups of people gathering on street corners, their faces etched with anger and frustration. Some held signs that read, "Enough is enough," while others simply shouted into the crowd, their voices blending into a rising chorus of discontent. The protests grew quickly. By noon, large crowds had gathered in key parts of the city, from Ikeja to Victoria Island. Roads were blocked, and traffic came to a complete standstill. Bola found himself caught in the gridlock on the Third Mainland Bridge, with hundreds of other drivers stuck as protesters streamed past, chanting slogans and waving placards. Some were angry youth, others were elderly citizens who had lived through years of hardship. But they all shared a common frustration, a sense that they had been ignored for too long. Soon, police forces arrived, lined up in riot gear. They carried tear gas canisters and shields, their faces hidden behind helmets. The crowd grew tense, the chanting intensified, and Bola felt a knot of fear tighten in his stomach. He had heard stories of protests turning violent, of clashes between the people and the authorities, but he had never been this close to the action. Just as he considered turning back, a loud bang echoed through the air. Tear gas canisters were fired, and the gas spread rapidly, stinging eyes and forcing people to scatter. Bola watched in horror as people ran, coughing and covering their faces. Some stumbled and fell, only to be helped up by strangers who urged them to keep moving. The scene was chaos, a whirlwind of fear and desperation.